Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deargan. Alongside me, as always, is Jeff Keighley's favorite birthday party, Josh Finney.
Jesus Christ. I had a birthday yesterday, and Jeff Keighley was not invited, let me tell you.
I know. Happy birthday, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm old. I'm falling apart.
No, you know, we all get there. You know why our bodies go through aches and pains and start happening in our 30s, Josh?
Why?
It's because we weren't meant to live past the 30s.
Probably true. Man. All right. Well, we are here on an off week. We kind of hinted, or at least I did during the week, that this had the potential to happen because, man, let me tell you something. There's a lot of stuff going on right now in Destiny. And we didn't really want to put this off until next week if we could help it, judging by the massive preview videos that came out for Edge of Fate this week, and also a gigantic TWAB, because I started going through my mind of like what happens if we have this next week too. Then how on earth are we going to cover these videos and two gigantic TWABs? So I'd rather risk a shorter show next week than us kill ourselves. This is gonna be short. We're gonna be here for like 35 minutes tops, guys. Just kind of going over some of the preview videos that we got. Of course, last week we talked about how a bunch of content creators were invited out. I want to be really clear. I have only had the opportunity to watch a handful of these videos. I am probably not going to watch all of them. I just kind of watched Datto's videos, and I watched a little bit of Fallout's, and I watched a video or two from Milo, and that was about it. Like, I just kind of like skimmed a lot of that stuff. Outside of Datto's, I just put on, and I'm so used to taking notes off Datto videos, I just kind of jotted some things down real quick. I did not watch any of the stuff on the missions. I did not watch anything on Kepler. If you want that, Bungie in the TWAB has linked videos from every single creator, specifically Zavaler and Milo's videos on the Kepler mission are there, showcasing some of the abilities like Matter Spark and whatnot. I'm personally not watching any of that because I don't want any sort of campaign spoiler before we go in. I'm done. I don't want any of it. Gear tier, Benny made one here. Rick Kakis made one. Fallout made some on some of the new weapons. Walla made some from a PvP perspective. The one that I really want to talk about, I want to talk about Portal, and they linked Datto's video here, which we're going to cover pretty extensively tonight. I watched two of Datto's videos specifically on that and like gear. And then there's a couple here on build crafting, Armor 3.0, et cetera, from Scaro. I want to get something out of the way first. Watching these impressions, and the more that I did a little bit of digging myself, the impression I walked away with, this is less Armor 3.0 and more of just like Destiny 3, honestly. The core game is changing so much, like the menus, how we infuse armor, how we infuse weapons, how we think of armor and weapons, how we think of exploration, how we think of puzzle solving, like this, how we approach combat is all just so radically different. This feels like not even a soft reset. This feels like a reset just in general. Everyone's going to be reduced to 10 light upon the beginning of the expansion, and that's where I want to start these notes. That was actually a great segue because I did not know I didn't have my notes pulled up, and that was the first line I had there. Levels 10 to 200 is going to be the persistent level range, i.e. just infuse the shit out of everything. This will likely be done for most of us through the campaign. They have said that you no longer have to play the campaign in order to level up, so some of you who are Machisists might be leveling up through Crucible or Gambit, and if that is you, I salute you, because I shan't be joining you. I will be playing through the Legend campaign.
Oh, no Gambit for you, Josh?
No Gambit for me. I played 2 matches of Gambit last week and got almost all my seasonal challenges for Gambit done. So,
for funsies, it's so good.
Not even for funsies. After 200, you're going to hit a seasonal level range. The highest I personally saw anybody running around with the gear, and by anybody I mean the very few screen caps I looked at outside of the videos that I mentioned, was I think Zavaler at level 300 light. The mid-season cap will be 450 for the record. That is the cap that you can hit. I think before the first major update, which will be in September. I think that's the highest you can get. After that, I have no idea how high you can go, but there are new rankings for how difficult things are going to be, and Ultimate is now above Grandmaster, and I think that is at 5. I think that's rated at 500 light. So Fireteam Power is still going to continue to exist, etc., etc. A lot of what we're going to talk about here in leveling and stuff is really leveling and its portal information from Dados, because I think that was one of my biggest questions was about leveling and about the portal in general. So, man, let's talk a little bit. We're going to kind of jump back and forth because his video kind of did that too. It blended how you earn gear with an explanation of the portal, which I think was a really good way to do it. We're going to start with solo ops. The solo ops menu will have some custom activities made for it. When I was looking at it, he even showed an event in the salt mines on the EDZ. They dropped you in there, gave you an objective to do, blah, blah, blah. You can set however high you want the challenge to be, challenge rating from like D up to A. You cannot go any higher than A. There's no S tier or anything. But that will affect not only the difficulty and your objectives that you're given and your modifiers, that will also affect your rewards. The preview event that they had, and he did show us these menus, had Savathûn Spire and the Coil available as activities you could do solo and fire team. This is really big because let me tell you, I have been on this for years saying how we need these types of activities back. Seasonal activities should be rotational. Them showing up in here is a really great way to keep the spirit of those seasons alive, I think. So I really like that to begin with. Number two, the testing area Dado was using for a lot of his B-roll footage looked very familiar, and I was trying to place where it was. I believe it is the Izanami Forge, not Izanagi, the Izanami Forge from Black Armory. It's an area on Nessus that I believe we have not seen in a very long time. Not the crashed catch off to the right of the spawn, but this is in a Vex area with some man cannons and Minotaur bosses and this and that. I feel like this is a Black Armory area. Please feel free to correct me. Obviously, I cannot go in and look at this myself, but this feels like it was a Black Armory area. I just don't know for sure. I remember chucking Black Armory balls throughout this area. That's what I remember. I thought that was really, really neat. But every activity is going to have a drop, but some will have bonus drops or items, and those will be indicated. It will say bonus reward available, or it'll have a specific piece of gear featured, like a specific weapon or a piece of armor in the description. It'll actually show that in the corner. Sometimes it's going to be special engram. Other times it'll be specific slot drops. So you can go target those activities if you are missing a powerful light drop in that slot. That is a really cool thing. How many times have we been waiting for a class item to drop or a heavy weapon to drop? Sometimes we're there for 3-4 weeks waiting for it to hit max light. I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me and how just insanely agitating it is. Yeah. So really, really happy that that seems to be getting solved finally. Finally, maybe. Who knows? I hope so.
You know what, Josh? I'm going to be positive and say yes. It's.
I'm going to choose to be positive as well, and just hope and pray to every god listening. There are a couple new modes. One of the new modes that was specifically talked about that I was really excited about is the cutting edge PvP mode, where only new gear will be allowed. I really like that, and there will be PvE bonuses planned for the future for using new items dropped that season. That has caused a little bit of a stir. Nerd Generalist was texting me the other day saying that he didn't like that. Necessarily didn't like that it was like, oh, well, you know, you're kind of being forced into using new stuff. It's like, I don't think so. I think that a bonus for that is like pretty acceptable. I actually really like that as a PvP mode, because we know how much PvP players just don't like, and I mean PvE also, just don't like getting off of their established loadouts, if we're being honest. So, okay, like, I'm fine with that. New gear is going to be marked by big-ass blue symbols, and it stands out. It really like the seasonal indicator is a bright like teal blue,
Ooh,
which I really like. That makes it stand out, and I really really like that. So it's always indicated to you. There does not appear to be a daily level cap anymore. It's gone. It's gone. Raids and mid-season activities are TBD, but right now, like, you're no longer capped on the amount of like drops you could go get, because like we were restricted by powerful drops or tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 drops in the past. It does not appear that that is a thing anymore. You could just grind for a dozen hours and still keep getting drops to progress your light if you really want to.
nice.
So
Like
I think
that.
that's great for the people who are getting ready for the raids. Big fan of that. We already went over harder you make an activity, better rewards you're going to get. The system basically seems like it's balanced around just beating the activity, not speed running it. There is a loose time component, and there will be random objectives, but it doesn't seem like, oh, you have to do this in under 5 minutes for a solo op or something. Like, Dado did say he failed one because of a time component, but I don't know if that's because he had like too many modifiers or what on there. But he did say it did happen once.
Hmm.
So I can't wait to get in and play around with solo ops. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Final notes that I have here on the leveling, at least from my personal notes, we'll go through the TWAB here in a minute. From 10 to 200, it's standard leveling procedure. Starting at 200, you will use something called unstable cores for the seasonal leveling. That is a new seasonal currency that will deprecate at the end of the season. Says our old leveling from the artifact is now done through gear. So it's no longer a one module cost, one enhancement core or something. It now depends, like however many levels you're jumping up is going to be however many you have to pay. Like there's going to be a cost correlation there. So I think that's pretty interesting right there. I'm sitting on like 4,000 of these things and I cannot delete entire stacks. So I'm personally pretty happy. Everybody is always going to start from scratch with the unstable cores, and that seems like it's being done to maintain some level of parity here so that people aren't like overwhelmingly more powerful. Everybody will be reset back to 200 at the end of the season. So it's going to kind of follow the Diablo 4 style of resetting your power. I also kind of like this because it lets them keep things in check without just going to arbitrarily strong numbers. I think that probably makes it easier for them to balance season to season.
Yeah,
especially since it's 6 months long now.
Yeah, plus like if you didn't play for a while and like a new expansion came out and they automatically leveled everybody up, I think this kind of takes away that feeling of like, oh man, I kind of went through the grind for nothing.
Sure.
Feeling that some people have.
Sure. Big believer there. I like that. And then set bonuses. This was Dado's personal speculation, but set bonuses feel like they're going to drive more infusion and build crafting than ever before. That was my takeaway from this also. I saw some set bonuses. I did not write them all down. He went through like 6 different set bonuses. They are of varying quality, but there was some awesome bonuses. I have some notes on those later on, I believe, down in stats and armor. But yeah, overall, like leveling procedures, I think leveling seems like it's going to be easier than it's ever been before. Like every other MMO, just if you want to get out there and grind, get out there and grind. I know some of us now, like we get our weeklies done after we've done like the story for the campaign or something. That's like, oh, well, we're just here to get our pinnacles and, play a little bit of Iron Banner or, do a raid or something. And then we're going to bounce out because there's nothing else to do, especially how seasons used to be structured.
Yeah.
So I think that this really helps with that. Fan of that for sure. And then you have something I really wanted to bring up regarding the menus. I don't really love that everything's being shoved into the portal now. That's their really big emphasis. Dado said that when he went over to like the director map, Kepler was not on there. And that could be just from the build or whatever, but it seemed in Bungie did a little FAQ in the TWAB today. It really seems like Kepler's not going to be on the map. It's only going to be accessible through the portal, which I think is just stupid. It seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
I don't really love that. Again, this is something I need to see in practice, and I think that's how a lot of us feel with the with the portal is we need to see it in person, but it feels like, Datto was like, oh, too many people go to they load in, they go straight to the tower, and then they spend forever figuring out what to do, and they don't know where to go for things. I feel like for new players that is a problem, and that's partially because the New Light experience is so god awful.
It's bad.
For veteran players, these menus just kind of make me a little mad when I see them. It's like, yeah, one of the special things was picking the planet and then loading into the activity, but I mean, one of the great things they did going into Destiny 2 was take all the old story missions off as soon as you finished them. Remember when those stayed on in D1 and it was just so annoying?
Yeah.
So I'm glad those are gone. Similarly to when you finished Adventures, they were then gone. The director is so unique. I always love looking at the galaxy map.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I'm alone on that, but
I mean, that's one of the coolest parts. I mean, like, I used to do that in Mass Effect too, where like you would go up to the Normandy kind of galaxy thing and load into a planet, and it was fun. It's cool. It's iconic for Destiny.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like, that's such a small complaint for me.
Yeah, I guess I just.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like cry over spilled milk here. Like, that is such a small thing. If that's what I gotta sacrifice for the betterment of the game, fine. And there's the full potential that next month I load into the portal menu and I'm like, damn, this is actually awesome. Because seeing Datto go through it started making me a believer. It's just like solo ops, fire team ops, crucible ops, endgame, like shit like that. Like, guys, there's too much going on here.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that in Fire Team Ops, like, some of the things that showed up were like exotic missions. Like Starcross was in there, Whisper of the Worm was in there. I appreciate seeing that stuff in there for sure. And like, if you want to go to the master versions of those, like, you're gonna have to go get a fire team for it. But like other ones, it's like, oh, it seems like the normal versions, like, you may be able to matchmake into those like kind of at any time if they're the rotation daily. Like, I'd love to see that stuff rotate regularly.
Yeah.
But if you're going to put it there, it also needs to be accessible anywhere, not just in those menus. Maybe in those menus is when you get the bonus engrams or the bonus gear or something.
Yeah.
Would be my pitch. But what I do really love, Corey, I love this fucking seasonal hub. I was a big fan of it during Heavy Metal, and I love that it's here now. This thing looks awesome. Yeah. It looks exactly like the Heavy Metal event, the rewards track on the bottom, daily and weekly bonus objectives, and quests on the side, etc., etc. This is really cool. This is really, really cool. I think this is the best change they've ever done to seasonal content. This makes it very easy to see what's going on. You click the play button on the left-hand side. It's going to show you relevant activities. It's going to show you the revamped Conqueror seal, which is no longer just go do all the GMs. There's actual objectives to go do seasonally to get the Conqueror title.
Oh, nice.
That's cool to me. I like that. Arms Week is also going to have the same track system. The seasonal hub resets every week now, which means that rewards track, you have a finite amount of pages you can go through in a week. That is going to reset each week, it sounds like. I think that's cool because we saw things like Bright Dust and currencies and cores and things like that then there. And then there was a page toward the end that he could not show us, that they are not ready to talk about publicly.
Ooh.
That makes me very interested. That makes me wonder if there's like ornaments and stuff back there or like emotes or something like that.
Yeah, I wonder.
My problem with that is I don't love the idea of putting stuff like that back there if somebody can't play for a given week. I don't think that should be locked down on a weekly basis. So I don't love that. I would like if they're just not ready to show it because they don't want to show unstable cores yet or something like that. I don't know, like some bullshit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or like engrams for certain activities or something. Like, there's a multitude of things you could do back there that they're not ready to talk about yet. And I want to see that in practice. Supposedly, we're going to see this before the game comes out, but we're kind of running out of time. You got like 5 weeks. So, chop. Let's get on that.
Yep. Chop.
Conqueror is now based on seasonal conquests, which conquests are challenges with unchangeable modifiers.
Ooh. Which
you have to do them on 3 different difficulties. So I like that. That's going to be a lot of fun, kind of taking inspiration from this Ride of the Nine deal that we got going on. One of the biggest things that Datto pointed out to me that I liked, it does not sound like exotics are going to have to be regrinded. And Bungie expanded upon this today. Everyone is going to receive 20 vouchers to their account to go to Ada 1 to get any exotic that they want with those, with the new roles, and you can focus them for any specific stat that you want. We're going to go over stats here in just a minute. But they're basically saying don't shard all of your exotic armor now, because all that armor is going to convert. Now, it sounds like the best benefit armor is going to be artifice armor and exotics into the new armor tier system and gear tier system. You have a full year to use these Ada vouchers. You do not have to use these right away. You have until next summer, when the Year of Prophecy ends, to use these. So Bungie themselves is even encouraging people, hey, play through the campaign, maybe play through the raid a couple times before you decide if you really want to go pump through these. But these are account based, so I'm personally going to use these on exotics that I don't have for my other classes for builds I want to make on those first. And then I'll worry about getting like, maybe a new Orpheus rig or a new Celestial Nighthawk or something if I need the stats better on it, for example. So, some last things that Dado pointed out about the seasonal hub and the director, and I agree with him on all this, the director map not being updated. He says the menus feel like the Fortnite-ification of Destiny, and I could not agree more. That was also a thought that I had. Fortnite is so fucking hard to navigate these days. I just had to pin the actual Fortnite experiences that I like, which is Zero Build, Festival, and like 2 or 3 creative modes that I play for quick XP. I had to just pin those to my favorites because that's so high up on the menus that I can just scroll down like twice and hit it. It is a huge pain in the ass otherwise to find anything in Fortnite now. So I'm a little worried about what that does for Destiny, especially as we get more and more expansions in this new system and more activities in there going. A little concerned. Just a little bit. Not like ultra concerned, but I do think it sets a worrying precedent, especially if you're not going to update the director anymore. And then one of the things Dado proposed was instead of resetting to 0, is there a way we could keep a percentage of our seasonal levels similar to our commendation score? I do feel like that's something that will eventually be looked at, but I think that with that, they're also worried if there really are unlimited levels you can earn and you're not going to be really capped. I wonder if they're concerned about, one, power creep, but like people AFKing in certain areas and getting to like season level 1,000 or something. I wonder if they're worried about that. Like, I wonder if like you could set it to like, you can keep like 20% of your levels up to this level. This is the absolute max we'll let you carry over. That would be something I would wonder if they would allow or not, or just do you have to say no because it's so easily abused? And that would be my take, is it's so easily abused, you probably can't do that. Regrettably.
Yeah.
So. All right. I want to move on to... Sorry, my phone just absolutely blew up and I was reading my messages on my computer. The Pacers just won game 1 of the finals over the Thunder. Thank God.
Yeah.
So our friend Austin, sorry, Austin, if you're listening, I'm very sorry. But as much as I would not mind seeing the Thunder win, I love Rick Carlisle. So...
Yeah. Also, Josh, breaking news, sort of. Black Myth Wukong's coming to Xbox on August 20th.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Announced 48 minutes ago via Insider Gaming.
Announced 45 minutes ago via Insider Gaming. Really wish that we'd been able to see that while we were talking Xbox.
I can splice that in. Like, hey, Josh. No. Xbox casual.
I see that. Pre-orders begin June 18th. I'm seeing official Xbox has officially tweeted it 1 hour ago. Yeah. Black Myth Wukong coming August 20th. Pre-orders begin June 18th. Wonder if that maybe shows up on Sunday now. But all right, let's talk stats really quickly. I want to make sure that I have Bungie's article pulled up in addition to my notes that I've taken, just so I don't talk out of my ass here. Stats have now been renamed. So I want to talk about this real fast. When you log in to play Edge of Fate, you'll notice your armor stats have changed. So here's what old stats have become. Mobility will now be tied to weapons. Resilience is now health. Recovery is class. Strength is melee. Discipline is grenade. Intellect is super. I love how easy they have made all of these to understand now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still baffled why weapons is one of these, but the other 5, fantastic.
What is weapons?
Weapon, well, just where the mobility stat is will become weapons. So I assume that any old armor you have, that will transfer over.
Yeah, okay.
That's the way I'm interpreting it. But everything else has been made so easy to understand now. Like, you cannot possibly get any easier than class, melee, grenade, and super. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's smart.
It needed to get easier. So, what are the new stats and what did they do?
All right.
This is why I needed both of these pulled up, because I took a lot of notes off of Datto's video here that Bungie does not go into details with on theirs. So let's start with health. Health, levels 1 through 100, grants 0 to 70 healing when picking up an orb of power, and grants 0 to 10% flinch resistance. From values 100 to 200. And it should be noted, every single point now counts. It is no longer done in groups of 10. Every single stat point counts, especially after 100. 100 to 200. Shields start recharging 0 to 25% more quickly and take 0 to 50% less time to fully recharge, and 0 to 20 additional shield capacity versus combatants. I think that is really awesome. So if you really build into health, you're going to get over shields too. That's awesome.
That's super cool.
The flinch is while you are ADSing, by the way. Really, really, really like that. Melee, 0 from 1 to 100, obviously improves your base cooldown and improves the amount of melee energy gained from all sources and any melee regeneration speed scalars from other sources. 100 to 200, 0 to 30% increased melee ability damage. This includes powered, unpowered, and glaive melee.
Ooh.
Again, really cool. Some of these built like Synthos, it's going to be wild. Triton Vices are going to be awesome with this. I love it. 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 This is so cool. It should be noted that the 0 to 30% is up to 30% in PvE and up to 20% in PvP. That is directly from Datto's video. By the way, he showed the value on the screen from the in-game menu. So that's directly from him. Grenade, 1 to 100, improves base cooldown, improves amount of grenade energy gained from all sources. 100 to 200, 0 to 65% increased grenade ability damage.
Ooh.
That's wild. I'm very curious for how it's going to work with healing nades. Healing nades and healing turrets are very interesting to me on this one.
Yeah.
I want to know how that's going to be. Not in a bad way. I want to know, like, is that going to buff healing? Because if that does, that's another game changer for builds. I really like that. Super. 1 to 100. Improves super energy gained from damaging targets. It does not change the base cooldown time of your super. It will improve the amount of super energy gained from external sources and any super regeneration speed scalars from other sources. This one is rough. I'm not going to lie. I was watching Datto's video, and he said specifically it was a notably longer time to get a super with low super numbers. So you cannot leave super at like 15 or 20 and just dump into everything else and expect to get your super. That thing crawls like a fucking snail from what I was watching.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think people are going to want to build into this because from 100 to 200, 0 to 45% increased super ability damage. So you combine this with something like Star Eaters, and you're cooking. Because that's already giving you a big boost. You could potentially be doing double on a super if you really build into that and a Star Eaters build.
Yeah.
That's something that's just wild to think about for me. Or that with Curious of the Falling Star, Apotheosis Veil, Geomags. Geomags is another one I'm thinking of. Celestial Nighthawk is one I'm thinking of. Like, there are just so many classic exotics, honestly, that are going to benefit from this immensely.
Yeah.
And then class, the final one. Not the final one. We have weapons. God, I wish I could forget weapons. Class 1 to 100 in base cooldown, external sources, blah, blah, blah. 100 to 200 grants a 0 to 40 HP overshield, 0 to 10 in PvP on casting your class ability. Duration is determined by the ability used. Example, dodge and thruster last 5 seconds. Barricade and rift last 10 seconds.
Ooh.
That overshield. So I like that a lot. Again,
Yeah,
there's really nothing bad to build into. Big fan. I like it.
Definitely sounds
really,
more
really like that.
customizable at this point.
It definitely sounds more customizable. And man, just so cool. Again, that's going to be it's going to be a menace in PvP because even 10 in PvP is going to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But weapons is where I get concerned about the PvP of it all. I'm going to be honest. So let's talk about it. 1 to 100 improves weapon reload and handling, improves damage versus minors and majors, 0 to 15% for primary and special, 0 to 10% for heavy. And then from levels 100 to 200, grants a chance for ammo bricks produced to contain more ammo than normal, and improves damage versus boss combatants and guardians, 0 to 15% for primary and special, 0 to 10% for heavy. Bonus weapon damage versus players is 0 to 6%. I am concerned. I don't know if 6% is enough to break the game. I could see them scaling that down to just an even 5. I know 5's not an even number, just bear with me. I could see them bringing that down to 5%. I need to see that in play because this also throws off this and the super regens and the super ability damage and everything also throws off so much damage testing for everything ever.
Yeah.
And it makes me really happy that I have never made content like that. It makes Dado happy that he got out of this. Aztecross, Godspeed. Godspeed, my friend. Because this is going to be just awful. This is going to be fucking awful. I hate that. I hate that so much. I think weapons is just a goofy ass thing. I think it's a goofy ass thing, but it's pretty clear you're going to want every stat as close to 100 as possible. I don't know how attainable that's going to be.
Yeah.
But if you're going to if I'm going to sacrifice something, I'm going to be honest, I'm probably going to sacrifice on weapons in total honesty. Because everything else is just so valuable. I'll probably sacrifice on that and maybe grenades.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the balancing point, though, that they're really going to have to try to figure out, right? Is how, if you sacrifice or if you build into weapons, how much does that affect you building into other things? You're more powerful, but almost like a glass cannon almost. That's just me thinking out loud, but I don't know. I am concerned just like you, though, honestly. It's something you're gonna have to play with for sure.
Yeah, it's something that we're gonna have to play with. We're gonna have to get our hands on because I think it's impossible to think about that otherwise. Okay. For stats going away with the new system, we have set them to fixed value for all players. This was another question I had coming out of all this. Mobility is fixed to what 30 once was for Titans and Warlocks and 40 for Hunters. Additionally, there are new leg armor mods to adjust this higher. Obviously, Hunters are going to want that adjusted higher. Resilience is fixed to what 100 once was. Thank God all of us have built into 100 Resil at this point. Recovery is fixed to around what 60 once was, which is higher than a lot of my builds have on recovery. So I like that.
Slow clunky Titan feels like
slow clunky Titan. They in the previews for D1 they compared Titans to being like Master Chief. So I guess you're finally there.
Dune Marchers it is.
You need a weapon, I hear. All right. Ability stats and recharge rates. At low stat investment, 0 to 30, your abilities are recharging slower than they used to, but at high investment, 70 to 100, they will recharge faster. So basically 30 to 70 is kind of like what average used to be, from my understanding. Any chunk energy gains, such as Demolitionist, that provide a direct amount, and any energy recharge scalers like Crown of Tempest will also be scaled by stat investment. At 70 stat, they will match the live game values and surpass them up to 100 stat. Below 70, they will give less value than the live game. We believe these changes together make the stats more impactful than they had been previously, as while there are now more trade-offs to not investing in a stat, committing to a stat will allow those that invest in them to achieve even higher potency than before. We hope this leads to a bit more diverse landscape of build crafting than before, allowing players the choice of committing hard to a single ability type or perhaps building something a bit more Swiss Army knife-like, while not allowing the choice of both at once. Internal playtesting showed a variety of both brand new and old reliable builds shine in the new system. So very, very, very excited for that. We talked a little bit about exotic armor, but I want to touch on the class items really fast here. Class items will be updated directly with stats based on the perks they have on them. If you already have perk combinations you like, keep them. If you're still hunting, feel free to visit the Pale Heart now to get ready for Edge of Fate. So they didn't really go into that too much because they want to talk about how this is going to work, Ada's focusing, and the way stats will roll for all armor in a future TWID. Great, just more teases for the future because we had a few things like that here, unfortunately. Jumping back to my notes, I want to talk about armor very briefly here. Armor's kind of the last big section I took notes on. Armor will masterwork up to 5 times now. Every time you masterwork, you will get 1 stat in the 3 lowest stats on the armor piece, and at tier 5, you can choose to add 5 of a stat or increase lower stats by 1 point each. You can add up to 40 extra stats total after the initial armor roll that you get. So kind of seems to me like you want to focus on like those you kind of want to like focus on those top 3, make sure those are like huge values, and then you buff the smaller ones. Kind of feels like the approach to take here. When armor drops, it has a high amount of its primary stat, a moderate amount of the secondary, and a third on low amount. We already talked about no dead stats. You're going to have to sacrifice a new build crafting. Current day armor is going to be generously converted. You should still clear any old unused armor in your vaults, though. I have friends who are already nuking from orbit. I'm kind of waiting cautiously. I'm not deleting any exotics, but any legendary armor I haven't used in a hot minute or ever is being deleted. As for my current armor, like obviously I need it for, Rite of the 9 and whatnot, but I'm going to hold that because those are pretty good stat values that I want to hold on to. Step bonuses, I didn't take anything down on step bonuses because there were just so many that data was going through and I didn't want to painstakingly write them out. Maybe I'll go through and find like 2 or 3 of my favorites for next week's episode. Ammo meters are definitely confirmed, and there is a help menu finally. There is finally a help menu for build crafting. Oh, I'm so happy, and it teaches you what everything means. This is something that should have been in the game like 8 years ago, but we finally got there. We're finally there.
It seems like the overall consensus lately is like it should have been there, but it's there now. So let's just
be happy for what we got. Honestly, oh my sweet baby Jesus. All right. Some other minor notes I have really quickly from Datto. Crafting was not mentioned at all at this event. The assumptions are broadly that crafting, as we know it, is dead. This kind of falls in line with what we've been thinking since like last fall when they took crafting away from seasonal weapons. But I feel like I'm going crazy here, but I feel like I remember Bungie saying that crafting was going to continue on for raid and dungeon weapons starting in Edge of Fate. But I would have to go so far back to find that at this point.
Yeah, plus I wonder how much has changed since then too, right?
Sure. This would have been a last October thing, so I'm sure in the last 8 months it's changed. Either way, just man, how annoying. How fucking annoying. Yeah. I don't like that. I don't think they're gonna like take the Enclave or like your craftable weapons away. I just don't think they're gonna add to it much anymore. I've always liked the idea of crafting as a catch-up mechanic, and to be fair, I do think that's how it will be utilized. But crafting is like, oh, we gotta go chase red borders. Really feels like outside of like raids and dungeons is probably dead. And honestly, that's for the best with the new tier system and everything else. Like, there's just no way to make that fair.
Yeah.
And people are always they're going to want the hollow foils and things like that. So a couple new weapon archetypes in some of the footage that we saw. Rocket pulse rifles. Really, really interested to see how this is going to go. You burn through your ammo really quickly with it, apparently, but I still really want to see this in action. Seeing it in the firing range didn't do a whole lot for me. I want to see this in actual gameplay. The spread hand cannon, which is basically a sawed-off shotty as a hand cannon. Apparently, this thing fucks in PvP, but while I thought it's awesome, Datto was like, this thing is shit. was basically his takeaway.
Mhm.
And then longbows. Think of a legendary Wishender archetype. That's going to be very popular with players, I think. There's a ton of new perks and traits. Data was flying through them. Again, I'm watching this at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, taking notes. I simply did not take notes on that yet. That is something that we'll cover at a later time. There were a couple other items from Bungie I wanted to hit real fast. Such as Prismatic and Edge of Fate. Almost immediately, people screamed about Prismatic. It took them less than 48 hours to walk this shit back.
Mhm.
So, Tuning Pass during the preview reduced the number of fragments that could be placed on various aspects, as we found the prismatic subclasses have been a bit hot since release. Certain prismatic builds have increased damage output and survivability to a point where challenges can feel trivial, and bringing everyone else up to prismatic's level wouldn't help solve this issue in a healthy manner. We see this conversation about power creep frequently, which is why we take time to tune things up or down. We're still planning an overall tuning pass for Prismatic, featuring buffs alongside other changes. We'll be changing our approach for Edge of Fate in response to feedback. Prismatic aspects that were originally planned to be reduced to 1 fragment slot will remain at 2. This is a good middle ground with some of the more potent aspects are being tuned down, but not by too much. They said they're still going to do internal play testing, but God, I can't imagine that you don't keep this as it is. Because, like, for example, Consecration was going to go from 3 to 1 fragment slots. That just runs it into the ground.
Mhm.
You can't do that.
Mhm.
Consecration is going to go from 3 to 2. Knockout will remain at 2 instead of going down to 1. Stylish Executioner will remain at 2 instead of going down to 1. Ascension and Winter Shroud are both going down to 2 instead of staying at 3. And then Feed the Void will remain at 2 instead of going down to 1. Helion and Bleak Watcher will both go down to 2. So you're at 2 across the board for basically all of these now.
Mhm.
So I'm interested to see how that goes. That might be it. There is an Adept and Trials rotation calendar up. Would encourage people to go look at that real quick. Of course, there's a recap of when things are going to be available in Prophecy. I have not run my Prophecy yet. I'm hoping to do that this weekend. It's been a bit of a busy weekend. It's going to be a really busy weekend too, frankly, with the showcases happening. The Pride Shader Bundle is available. These are really, really cool shaders. I really enjoy these. So I went ahead and got these because I love that $550 is being donated to Advocates for Trans Equality Education Fund. Big supporters. So, and of course, the Rainbow Connection emote and the End of the Rainbow Trans Mat are available as always, along with the Pride Month shader. So, oh boy, I think I got through all of my notes, Corey.
Are you sure? I
I
think
hope
you
so.
missed something.
God, I hope so. And that's even with me being like, yeah, I didn't take notes on like this, and this yet. So, God, my voice is going.
Well, don't
My
worry,
voice is
Josh. We're going to be
going.
back next week. So,
We will be back next week, and we'll be back twice next week. We'll be back Sunday for the Xbox showcase and Thursday for Tower Casuals. But do you have any thoughts on the things that we talked about? I was just kind of flying through a lot of that. I know. Any thoughts that I did not get to? I'm going to check and see if we had any questions real fast before we get out of here.
I think that some of the stat changes are good. Most of them, obviously, some of them are questionable, but
Mm-hmm.
I think crafting going away, essentially, at least for a little bit, seems like a decent move, especially because they're going to introduce some new, like, especially when you're kind of overhauling everything. Like, you can't do the crafting as well, right? Because you don't know how things are going to be balanced and stuff. So, like, even if they do bring it back in the future, like, they got to make sure all this stuff is balanced out first and works correctly and works as intended, and that sort of thing. But overall, I think a lot of these changes are good, if not great. The ones that aren't, kind of got to wait and see.
Yeah, I think the only stat change that I'm like really concerned about is weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's obviously just from like a PvP perspective, but also like PvE power creep and testing purposes and things like that. Like you're gonna have to always do it at the neutral value.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to do it at you're gonna have to do it at 0. You're gonna have to do it at 100. You're gonna have to do it at 200. Like there's gonna be so much you have to do for like that and supers now going forward. It's gonna be a nightmare. We did have a question But I need to read a little bit more on it because I need to find the source on it first. But there are some voice actor changes coming, I believe, to well, we kind of knew this.
Yeah.
I believe some of the recasting has already happened. I just need to find a source on the one that was specifically mentioned to me.
Yeah, we talked about some of this stuff a week or two ago. 3.
Yeah, there actually is apparently something going around about one of the voice changes with Ikora, like who it is, and I just want to find an actual source before I talk about it. Jiggly Panda also had a question for us that I've already told them that we're going to file away for next week, but just kind of something for everybody to think about. Do you think Bungie would have been in the news less if they had let Destiny stay under the Activision umbrella? And that's kind of a loaded question because there's a lot of components to that, specifically pertaining to how Activision Blizzard itself was being run and all the controversies with Blizzard, which is about the time that they broke out a little bit before that, I guess. And I kind of want to say that and go into more detail when we have a little bit more time. But we have done 2 shows tonight, and my voice is fading fast.
Yeah, my eyes are feeling a little heavy, Josh.
My eyes are feeling really heavy. So, apologies if we recorded this at normal time. Yeah, we'd be all for it. But we did a 2-hour pod right before this, so
yeah,
we've been recording for about 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, if this was the only show, we would definitely be going for more. But this was an off week, and Xbox Casuals had a big week this week, and so didn't want to let you guys down, but also it's time.
Yeah, it's time.
It's time. So yeah, little bonus for you all. We'll be back with a regularly scheduled program next week. And Josh, I appreciate your extra time tonight. Everybody out there, thank you for listening or watching Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. You can find it on your podcast service of choice or on YouTube. Subscribe, like, share, rate, and review wherever you listen. Appreciate you all out there as well. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, we love you. Goodbye.